Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Tuesday, the 22nd of September. I'm your host, the amazing Super Chris. I hope you had a wonderful week so far. Everything's going good. We're halfway to the hump day. I've got Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog. He's joining me as my co-host again today. The Rage, Nokasuchi from the Raging Atheist channel here on YouTube is joining me. And we got Lola Rey. Why do I have to find Lola Rey from TikTok? She's going to join us in just a minute. We're going to do the thing at the place and talk about the crazies over at the... So, we'll be right back.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Do you like it?
Sometimes you can choose to not be a dick. Yes. Thank you.
I can't take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't. Take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't.
They're Nazis.
We're throwing around the N-word this morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning. I've got Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog. There he is, over there, the Andy Hall. And then Nokasuchi, the Rage, good morning. And Lola Rey, as mentioned. We've got Lola Rey. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I want to say, before we get too far along, because sometimes I forget, I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Good morning to the damnation. I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. I'm having a good week. It's crazy, busy, crazy. It's one of those kind of weeks. It's crazy. Anyway, hey, Lady Starfire, good morning. Trina DeLuca, hugs to Trina DeLuca. Let me get my things in a row here. Derek Cruz, good morning, Derek. There's Lola Rey. Hey, Lola Rey. Old Man Dan, good morning, everybody. It's nice to have you with us this morning. Also, thank you to everybody on Facebook who watches. We streamed like 18 or 19 Facebook pages or YouTube groups. Good morning to everybody over on Facebook and to the people listening on the Daily Atheist Morning Show live podcast. So, hi, everybody. Good morning. We today are going to talk about we'll probably talk about a lot of things because they're all related. And that would be QAnon craziness. So we got some QAnon craziness related with cuties and Netflix and TikTok. Am I missing anything? TikTok?
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture. A lack of psychotherapy. Clearly a lack of education. Anyway, so good morning, everybody. I think Miss Lola is our resident expert on the TikTok, the talk of ticks.
Yeah.
And so you said there has been some things going on over there for you. Do you want to kind of fill us in real quick? First of all, before we get too far, would you tell everybody who you are and let them know in case I forgot something? You're the amazing
I'm
Lola Rey.
Yeah, and I'm in Texas. I'm a victim advocate. And I'm a TikToker. I have no niche. I am nicheless. So I just kind of do stuff for fun there. I do kind of, lately I've been more politically active. But yeah, so that's what I do.
You in a nutshell. Okay, so you said you have been having some recent, now my understanding is this, you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you saw cuties, heard what the QAnon people were saying about it, and was like, that's not really what's going on, and they started attacking you for it. Is that basically
No,
correct?
well, I haven't seen cuties yet, but what I saw was a trend about people who were like dragging pretend bodies and carrying around shovels and saying they were going to bury all pedophiles. And so I just saw this as a problem, because it's a real issue, right? Mm-hmm. Child trafficking and child molestation and all of that. It's a real thing. But there's a difference between a pedophile and a child molester, and we need these people to come forward and seek help, and they're not going to do that when people are threatening their lives. So I did a video about that, and QAnon lost their ever-loving crap. And so I've been getting like death threats, and I'm fighting with TikTok right now to get a couple of videos taken down, because there's one woman in Florida, for example, she's got a video up where she's flat out calling me a pedophile, and she's warning everybody that I'm a pedophile, and she even created a hashtag for me. So, I mean, I can kind of laugh at it right now because I'm not famous or anything, but I mean, I eventually want to take my victim advocacy, to a greater level here, and that's going to be hard to do with people thinking I'm a pedophile. So I'm trying to get the videos taken down, and for some reason TikTok won't take them down.
Yeah.
I report them. My friends have reported them, and they're saying that it doesn't violate their guidelines, which is not true, but it absolutely does. But yeah,
well, you would think it's liable as well. I mean, if you're gonna make an allegation, you need to have some kind of evidence.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a serious allegation too.
I don't know. I might contact an attorney at some point.
I would at least consult with one, and there should be someone that you could probably talk to for free, I would imagine.
Yeah,
you actually could. You may be able to sue the people who are making the videos.
Yeah, well, them and TikTok for not taking it down.
There you go. Oh, yeah. And when you get mega rich, are you going to come hang out with us? Come hang out with us when you sue them.
Man.
Awesome. Cool.
Oh, yeah. I'll throw some more money at your Patreon.
There you go.
I'll bump it up to the next level.
And this is an issue on YouTube now as well, that because of the movie Cuties and this QAnon conspiracy theory, the waters have gotten really muddied when you have this conversation about child molestation, pedophilia, all of that. And now, like, if you come out and give just an accurate, truthful depiction of what Cuties actually represents, they haven't went so far as to start calling people pedophiles, but they do say, oh, you're endorsing pedophilia propaganda, or you're promoting pedophilia, stuff like that. And they're attacking several atheists in the atheist community right now over that very reason, because people saw the movie and they're saying, hey, the narrative isn't the truth. Let me tell you what this movie really is.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it, just to kind of figure out what's going on. But
I unfortunately did watch it, and it's
I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I thought the Cuties was kind of trying to point out things like this, Rage.
Oh yeah, it is. It definitely is. You cannot watch the movie and walk away thinking, hey, this is pedo porn. This is obviously trying to call out sexualization of young children in society. My biggest problem when I watched it initially was, well, you don't sexualize children in order to make that point. I've learned more information since then. Like the directors, the creators of the movie brought in a psychologist to work closely with the children, and those psychologists are still working closely with the children right up to this very day. Today, they'll have to go see the psychologist. So there's a lot of nuance to the argument, and yeah, it is exposing sexualization. It's not promoting it.
But that's, if you don't mind, I know I'm not trying to defend this stuff, but it's like going, you know what? There were surgeons ready, and those surgeons are still prepared to do plastic surgery on this disfigured child every day. They knew what they were getting into before we threw acid on their face. Yeah. You know, it's really all right. So let's take that analogy. Okay, we're going to damage them psychologically. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to have continuing psychological assistance for these children because we know we're going to. That doesn't.
Well, I don't think the point was.
Good justification.
I don't think the point is, hey, we're going to damage the children psychologically. Is we're going to walk these children through these moments so we can make this point. I'm not still I still don't like. I still don't think it's a very good idea. But it does.
You're not defending it.
It made me feel better about it. But it's still like my point is, you don't sexualize children in order to make the point not to sexualize children. The point still stands. You know?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Rage, can you put Cuties on a sliding scale of toddlers and tiaras, dance moms? Where if we're gonna put it on a scale, where would you put it?
Well, it's hard for me because I usually don't watch these types of movies. That's why I was like, I don't even want to watch this movie. Like to me, I was walking into like a teen dance movie, but like based on like what I've seen in like real life, like on children going to beauty pageants, I would say this is a 2.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's about 7 minutes of sexualization in an hour and a half movie. So, I mean, if you're going to a beauty pageant, you're getting all day of sexualization, right? So,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I just knew that there's a lot of things. We have a problem. We have a problem with at-home child molestations that happen. Just alone that happen all by themselves. And then we have literal, real child trafficking or underage minor trafficking that also happens. And then you've got a group of people. And so each one of these is a type. Let's do this. Okay. For this analogy, each one of these is a type of fire, like in a home or a building, right? And so you've got this fire that's going on that needs to be addressed. But you've also got this group of people who are going around. They're going, there's a fire over there, and there's a fire over there, and there's a fire over there, and there's no fires there. They're just using this to vilify people or to try to make some sort of political point. And it really ends up being to where everybody's going, oh my God, a fire, a fire, a fire. And nobody's really looking at the real problems. There's the real fire here, but they don't know that because they're running over to that fake fire that's over there underneath the pizza in a basement that the pizza doesn't even have. Right? Picking up what I'm putting down. So it should be, where does free speech end and harming society begin?
Yeah. I've read a few things over the last while. I've come across some articles about, history was one of my worst subjects, like probably behind math. I was bored to tears, and I'm ashamedly not up to date on my history. But okay. So there is this article that I came across from Gregory Stanton, who is a genocide studies expert. And he's saying that this QAnon conspiracy theories, the ones, about the pedophiles and the cabal of, elites and all these people, it actually started in 1903 with a story called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Yep. That's classic.
Or 1902. So it was Russian anti-Jewish propaganda. And so it's pretty much rebranded in the QAnon conspiracies.
And it seems like it's had several evolutions. Like we had Pizzagate, and now we've got QAnon, and it kind of seems like they're really, really similar.
Yeah. There's it's really disturbing, though. So it's, they kidnap children, they slaughter them, they're using their essence or their blood for some
blood
kind
rituals.
Of powers or,
blood rituals.
And it's really disturbing. The FBI, their Autobot, I guess, posted a copy of it back in February, and the internet loved it, because it's anti-Semitic. And then, I came across this article yesterday about a study that was done, and it basically says that conspiracy theorists have a fundamental cognitive problem. So, I mean, there's so much to unpack here with what's going on.
There really is this evidence.
Did you notice the title? The title of the show, The Intellectually Dishonest Now Have Their Own Club, QAnon. Yeah. It's a little more slanderous, perhaps, but it's essentially the same thing.
I've got to step away real quick, fill my coffee up. So I'll be right back.
Okay, see you in a sec.
Yeah, but it's really disturbing because, you got celebrities that are being just slandered. They're like Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson moved to Greece because the laws are easier on pedophiles, and John Legend and his wife packed up and moved because of some, it's just, and Trump is running with it. He's all over it.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the celebrities, how they moved and this. But all right, okay. I'm trying to start a sci-fi show. I'm not a channel. I'm not trying really hard. I did for a week and a half. I made some videos over there, and I I need to get back to it. But in doing so, I've looked into the other people who do those kind of shows, watching, and the critical of the shows. So there's this one guy, his name is Nerdrotic, and I thought, okay, he does Star Trek and all this other stuff. So I'm watching his stuff, but he also does these live streams, and he starts talking about how the celebrities are fleeing California, and he's got pictures of Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks with like googly eyes over googly eyes because he's fleeing to Greece and they start laying out these allegations as to why, and I'm like, wait, this is bullshit, and it's
clickbait. That's what it is. It is sensationalization just to get clicks, just to get more idiots to feed their Patreon accounts. That's all it is. These are charlatans, most of them, and they know what they're doing. Most of them know what they're doing. They're just trying to get the clicks.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder how, because there is an element of, lacking intelligence. I'm just going to say it. How many of these people, some of these people are clearly just evil, right? They're just malevolent. They just want to do bad things. Mm-hmm. And then you have these other people who firmly believe in these conspiracies, with just this passion. They're just rabid about it. And, like when I came across this thing about, the propaganda, the Nazi propaganda, do they know about that? I don't know that it would make a difference, but like, do they know that this is, we've already seen this, because I certainly didn't know just until last week.
The Nazi, or did you say Nazis or Russian?
Well, the Nazis picked up on it. Like Hitler used the same tactics.
Similar tactics. So I just want to point out that also during the McCarthy era in the United States, similar tactics where they were labeling that they were Russians or they were pedophiles and stuff like that. It's a very similar tactic being used. Finding this heinous thing to accuse these people of, despite. And it was like a tactic on the right, specifically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does QAnon and what people who support QAnon seem to have, and Lola, you might be acquainted with the dark trinity of characteristics, right? The dark triad of personality traits there. It's narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, which is a thought disorder from what I understand about it. And you can see these three character traits kind of flower with QAnon and QAnoners. It's madness. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and conspiracy theories are designed. So, there's an art to them. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he's probably one of the more popular conspiracy theory writers. He will talk about it. He there's a design to it to suck people in, and you have just enough evidence to make it seem possible. And once you've got people thinking it's possible, then you've got them, and then their belief systems can take over and start filling in the blanks. So it's by design to keep people very, very paranoid. I think Skylar Fiction had somebody on his show yesterday, a very conspiracy theory, this and that, and he literally said, he's like, I don't believe in most conspiracy theories, but most conspiracy theories are true, something along those lines. And I'm just like, like, what?
Do you not hear yourself?
And the thing is about these QAnoners, they especially the YouTubing ones, they refuse to get out of their little rat holes and actually debate someone about these. You see these people who peddle in pseudoscience and conspiracy theories, and what they do is that they have these little safe havens. Mm-hmm. And once they get out of their safe havens, they go like face to face with someone who actually knows what they're talking about. They get smashed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure how true this is. I wish I had the meme to pull it up, but I've seen a meme floating around lately about how the guy that created QAnon is some like introverted conspiracy theorist across the pond, and like is known for these really I can't remember. I wish I had that meme right now just because I don't know how true it is. But like, has anybody heard, like, do we know who started the Q?
I don't believe so. I believe their identity is still unknown.
Yeah. I had never heard of it. And I was over at a friend's house, my buddy Mike, if you're watching, I'm referring to you. I don't know if anyway, I was over at my buddy Mike's house and he's like, have you seen this video? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And, so he sent me a link because we were talking, and I got home and I popped open the video, and it was the QAnon, that big selling point video they had when it first kind of blew up. And I watched like a minute or so of it. And I'm like, it's like, no. And I closed it. That's programming. That's bad food for the brain. And that's how I felt about it. But he took it at the time, hook, line, and sinker. Now, the other day he was here and we were talking about it. He's like, he was talking about Biden. I'm like, you know, Russia and China, they're like, Russia and Trump, and they're like hand in hand. He's like, but have you seen the video about Biden? I'm like, what video? And he's like, let me send you this link. I'm like, it's not from that QAnon bullshit, is it? And he goes, no, it's not that stuff. That stuff's all trash or something. So apparently maybe he's changed his mind since then, but I don't know.
You know, there are, you know, I want to speak to something about in the chat. Colin Peters was saying is that there was one particular conspiracy theory that proved to be true. Sure, there have been, historically speaking, some conspiracy theories, like the Serbian involvement in the murder of Archduke Francis that helped launch World War I. Sure, that was true. There's no doubt about that. However, to even say that that offers any possibility that Bigfoot exists or aliens made the pyramids or QAnon is correct. That is a gross oversight.
Oh yeah, I think it would be equally delusional to think that our government or the governments of the world or the powerful of the world aren't covering some things up, especially bad behavior. So MK Ultra was proven to be true. I subscribe to the fact that Oswald didn't kill JFK. And that comes from information, not conspiracy theories. I've looked at it for a long time. I'm like, I don't think Oswald killed JFK. It doesn't mean I'm going to subscribe to every single conspiracy theory that I've ever seen in my life, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I ascribe to the conspiracy theory that the Catholic Church nurtured and protected pedophiles for centuries.
Yeah, because we have information.
That's crazy talk.
How about
what the hell are you talking about? I'll never believe that about the Catholic Church. That's just Andy. This is
not
scurrilous lies.
Once again, whenever we start talking about QAnon and cuties and pedophiles, I always want to bring it back to the real enemies of children, which is the Catholic Church.
Well, the Catholic Church, the Evangelical Church, the Islamic mosques. I mean, it's people use positions of power. And they abuse it. Not all people, some people, and it's all across the board. And we need to be looking at these institutions of power and how they're covering them up, because Catholics are in the main news. Everybody knows about them. But if you go to local television stations, you're always seeing this evangelical pastor getting his computers taken away, going to jail. So I mean, it's spread across the board.
Yeah, there was a thing about the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know if you guys read about that. The Australian Royal Commission did an investigation and found out there were like 1,500 cases of child abuse and sexual assault that went covered up. And because you know they don't think that they should have to answer to secular law. And so they kind of handle it in-house. And there have been a lot of victims that have come forward and
we cannot, organizations cannot self-regulate themselves. Wall Street can't regulate themselves. The Catholic Church can't regulate themselves. The Boy Scouts can't regulate themselves. The police cannot regulate themselves. I don't know why this is a radical thought, but the more times we say this, perhaps the greater chance people realize that whenever someone says like this organization can regulate themselves, their BS monitor just lights up in their head and they say that is false. That is a false assumption.
Well,
go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was just gonna say we got this like decades of misinformation and puddling the minds of our people here in the United States of things, watching shows that we got one season of Cosmos, and how many seasons do we have of Ghost Hunters?
Yeah. We're getting a new season though.
Of Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
Cosmos. Yeah. But you see my point. We got all these hundreds of different shows History Channel. There's no history there. Ancient aliens created man in a jar and planted it. That's all it is now. Wait. We're going to go to a 500-year-old German castle and speak to them in English. Hi, ghosts. How are you? Right? Really, this is just stupid. Yeah, but people buy this stuff up. This stuff is there for years and years. And how many seasons of Survivor do we have now?
Now, I love Survivor, yo.
Well, yeah, at least Survivor isn't misinformation like the other ones are. Where the other ones are just
it
like
could be all fake and
nonsense.
staged. I still love it. I mean, I'm
well,
a sucker.
It may be staged. Yeah,
that's my crack.
I
literally, I did hear that Trump just appointed that Ancient Aliens guy, the one with the crazy hair, as the chief of Space Force. So.
No.
Bad joke.
You just never know.
I'm sitting here going, what is that?
Maybe he did.
I believe it. He did.
No. See, that's the whole deal. We don't know. We're sitting here going, well, yeah, that's not beyond imagining with Trump. And anybody on this panel, would any of us been surprised? Not surprised. Ashamed, perhaps.
You see, my problem is that I was actually looking up something on the internets, the intertubes here, and I missed the joke. So I'm sorry. I usually try to be a good laugher.
Oh, it was a terrible joke. I didn't land it well. It's still early. It's still early.
You know, this is I got a good one here. This is a great question from Inez Ramos. I hope I said that right. I'm pretty sure I got the Ramos part. But Inez Ramos asks, what's the difference between QAnon and Anonymous? They are not the same.
Oh, no, they're not the same. Anonymous is a group of hackers. It's trying to unveil what people are hiding.
Yes.
And I got it because I think the government got Anonymous, and now Anonymous are government pawns. Conspiracy theory for you.
Oh, wow. Really? There you
go. Mind blown. And QAnon is basically this radical right-wing fascist theocratic Christian organization, online group that is spewing out these moral panics.
Yeah, I mean, Anonymous, literally, like when we were doing the No Dapple protest, I was at the protest for a few days, but I was involved with the protest for a very long time. Anonymous released the names and addresses of all of those Morton County Sheriff's deputies that were on scene abusing those protesters. I mean, that's the type of work Anonymous does compared to QAnon, which just gets on the internet and talks conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when the beginning of, you know, when the election was kind of kicking, I don't know if it was when Trump got elected or right beforehand, they actually released a video where they said that he had ties to the Russians and that he had, he was involved with pedophiles and child trafficking. And so, I mean, they weren't wrong.
Yeah, I don't know about the pedophile part. All I know is when it comes to Trump, I mean, there's lots and tons. There's so many ties to Russia. It's unbelievable. It just boggles the mind how many ties to Russia he has. That's just now the pedophile thing. I didn't know anything about Trump, and I mean outside of the claims made by that he was with the Epsteins and all that. But I guess that right there is enough.
Well, there was the 13-year-old girl that accused him of rape, and then there was him walking in on the teen Miss USA beauty pageant.
Oh, right, yeah,
and bragging about that, and yet he's our president. Somehow that's.
And when I say, I mean, he walked into their locker room audience. So like young girls in their underwear, he thought it was cool just to go up in there and be like, "What up, ladies?" So.
Yeah.
There was a gal that I was, going at it with. Actually, one of the videos that got the QAnon people on me was in response to a gal who was claiming that Trump has all these pedophiles locked up somewhere, awaiting execution, like old style executions, and I mean it's just so bizarre, right? And I had been going back and forth with her because she just kept throwing all this ridiculousness at me. But I did a video in response to that, and I said, here's the thing, in this country we do not put people to death for having a mental defect, and that's what pedophilia is.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to come to terms with that. This isn't going to happen. But the people came after me for, pretty much telling her what the facts were, but I had, there's a clip, like a quote of what she said in the video, and no one is going after how ridiculous and how over the top that statement was, right? It's, it's just so ludicrous, just nuts. But I'm just saying, hey, we just don't do that in this country.
Right.
We don't.
Well, and that's the problem. Like these conspiracy groups, they coagulate online and they form these huge, massive attack groups. So once somebody like yourself comes and speaks the facts, then they can just overwhelm you with numbers and voices, and that becomes the narrative to where even the few people that might be like, "What is going on?" She just said the truth. It doesn't matter because they've got 1,000 voices to one. And it's a huge issue. Like it's becoming a really huge issue, and it's cancel culture times 1,000. But this time it's from very, very extreme right wingers, usually the ones complaining about cancel culture.
Yeah. Well, and I had one guy who's I don't want to give him any any airtime here, but he did a video with me where he was talking about, he's trying to be all reasonable, he's trying to be all factual, and he's like, well, this part is wrong because, and then you played yourself. And I had to listen, I'm horrible at history. I just already said that. Like, I didn't study, I didn't care. I think I must have cheated in school to pass those classes because I don't remember much about it at all. But I literally had to school him on the Constitution. This is like a patriot. I mean, these people are patriots. They've got flags all over the place. And I had to school him on the Constitution and the law. He's like, well, the 5th and the 14th say that, you can execute blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm talking about the,
it's cruel and unusual punishment. Any grade school child should be able to know
that. They just they don't understand that you just can't kill people.
Well, and we don't ship them to black ops. Why is that always
the solution to everything? Killing people.
Yeah, and that's their thing. It's that they just want to lynch people. That's
what it is. That's
in America
mentality.
In America, I don't care how bad your crime is. We don't ship you to black op concentration camps where you're going to be waiting execution. That's not what America is. I don't care who you are. We have prisons for that.
What I find, and I'm not original in saying this, that the people who are deathly afraid of the government want to give the government all of this unregulated power to do what the government wants to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. And people argue for this crap. I'm like, we need civics back in school. We need to teach civics again. Because people don't know.
Be doing that.
Do you guys remember the Patriot Act back whenever they first started to introduce the Patriot Act? And there was the notion by I don't remember who, it was the ones on the right. The left was introducing I don't remember. I think it's Bush. Anyway, they were talking about, well, now anybody who can just be called a terrorist, you label terrorist for anything, and suddenly they'll be able to drag you off.
Well, that's part of the moral panic, isn't it? Just by
part of the moral panic.
Terrorist,
and now we see that again. As I think that's where we're going with this sedition thing we were talking last week. They're going to try to get it to where anybody who protests will be able to be charged with sedition down the road.
Well, that's the goal.
I think that's where they're going. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anybody but that protest, against their stances. They don't have any issues with those, pro-life protests that go on all the time, or the Second Amendment protests that go on. Right. They don't have issues with those protests, despite the people being outside governor mansions with assault weapons. No problems with that,
Yeah, on the courthouses, lawns with weapons like that. It's just crazy. Andy?
The thing is about revolutions is that there are several revolutions typically tied up in one, and more radical sects take power as revolutions kind of grind on. So the idiots today supporting QAnon are going to be the same ones up against the wall getting shot by the more radical elements of whatever arises post QAnon down the road, in case this whole thing, like the bottom falls out of the tub, so to speak.
And again, it muddies the waters of a really serious issue, because there probably are little pockets and circles of very powerful people that do very bad things, but you muddy the waters and you can't focus on that because now all of them are doing it. I mean, it disgusts me. Yeah.
The fire analogy. You don't know which conspiracy theory is true because they're throwing so many at you. If they would just shut up,
Well, are you guys familiar with SESTA and FOSTA, the anti-trafficking law that
I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit.
It's actually really harmful to children and to victims of trafficking, because it's basically an anti-sex law guised as an anti-trafficking law. This is just him trying to appeal to the Christian right, the moral issue of sex work. And so what he's done is he's made the owners of websites like Craigslist and places like that, they are now responsible for trafficking that takes place on their sites. So they've shut down a lot of these, like adult sites. For example, for sex workers, they had certain platforms where they could go and, vet clients, they could do they have like a network, a safety network among them. And a lot of these sites shut down, which drove a lot of, sex workers out onto the street where they were, the pimps were waiting for them.
Yep.
Of course, when you shut these sites down, law enforcement uses these sites. So now they don't have that resource to find victims.
Well-
And so Craigslist, for example, they had shut down their adult services section years ago. But when this law passed, they also shut down their personal section. They were like, nah, we don't want none of that. We don't want to get in trouble. And then there's free speech issues as well. The DLJ advised against it. You know, all these other organizations came forward, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I mean, and they were warning against this law, and they passed it. It got overwhelming support.
Yeah, because they put a name on it that you pretty much your morality impels you to support it, and then nobody takes the time to actually. The senators don't even take the time to read the legislation. So I mean, this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think there were only 2 people that voted against it, Rand Paul and somebody else, but it got overwhelming support, which is, and now now they're realizing, at least, you know, the Democrats are kind of like, okay, I think we kind of screwed this one up. Let's do some, you know, let's study up on the impact of this law. But it's not, you know, the law is not designed to actually help victims. It's not designed to help trafficking victims at all. It's not. It actually puts more danger.
And I think you can see that. I mean, if you actually look at the numbers, sex trafficking worldwide is on an increase. So, I mean, the law did very little to impact the actual crime it's trying to impact. And now, you know, like Trump is pumping all of this money into ending this. I mean, it's just to feed his base in the conspiracy theories. But I doubt that they're really going to do anything to actually stop child sex trafficking.
No.
Well, by feeding these conspiracy theories, they're actually helping it, child sex. They're hindering the law enforcement who would be stopping it on numerous fronts.
Yeah,
not just the website part, you know.
And really,
now,
like,
that was a great idea.
If you look at child molestation, you've really got to look at the homes. Almost all of molestation happens from somebody the child knows personally.
You are totally correct on that. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Well,
and say that again. Say that again, Ray, because that's important.
Almost all of the child molestation in this country, in the world, happens from somebody the child knows personally. Somebody the child met, and it's usually a family member.
Yep. Totally true.
Or someone in a position of power.
Yeah.
You know, a coach or a teacher or a priest. You know, but you know, the problem is that there is help. There's ways to reduce these incidences, and it starts with the people doing it, right? Which was my point initially, is trying to get these people to understand that there is a difference between a pedophile and a child molester. And they're like, oh no, you're just semantics. No, the words have meaning, and this is what you need to understand. A lot of the people that molest children are not pedophiles. They're what are known as, they're basically crimes of opportunity. They are situational offenders. They're, you know, okay, well, I have this opportunity now, so I'm going to take it. But they're not necessarily people who want to have relationships with children. And then you also have pedophiles who want help. You know, they recognize, okay, I've got to go the rest of my life this way. I'm not going to be able to engage or bond or connect in the way that I'm, you know, born, the way that I'm feeling. So I need help, but they're afraid to come forward because, one, of course, the public is threatening them, and 2, there's mandatory reporting laws in a lot of places. And so if someone comes forward and says, hey, you know, I'm feeling these things and I'm worried, you know, then these mental health professionals have to report them. And then, you know, a lot of them don't want to treat them.
Yeah, can I ask though? There's 2 scenarios. One is, hello, this person goes in and tells the therapist that I'm having these feelings. That's one thing. Yep. There's another one where that person goes into the therapist and says, listen, I'm molesting my kid. Now that one obviously needs to be reported. I completely understand that. There should be no. The first one. The first one. We're just having thoughts.
I don't know what the law is in Texas. I know in Massachusetts, because I was a mandated reporter for many years, because I worked with people who have disabilities, I worked with kids, I worked with the elderly.
Of course.
And that it isn't the evidence of a wrongdoing that you report, it is the possibility of wrongdoing, or the you know. So let's say that someone says, I have feelings and I work in a
Better
daycare
safe than
center, for an
sorry.
example, then I would have to call someone. I can make an anonymous phone call to the state and say, this is what I heard. This is about the person. And that, so it isn't the fact that a crime has to have happened. It is the fact that there is a possibility of it.
Well, if you're someone who is, for example, if you're depressed, or if you have PTSD, right? And you go to your therapist and say, man, I'm really feeling like I want to hurt somebody. Or, I'm just having these feelings that I really want to act on. I haven't acted on it, but I'm really having this problem. I'm struggling with it. They have an obligation to report because you might hurt someone.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I am curious about the law because I know what I do know is if you go to a therapist and you say, I am going to hurt someone, I have a plan to hurt someone, I feel compelled to hurt this person, then they definitely have to report that.
Yeah.
If they say that they just have these ideas or these fantasies, do they have to report that too?
I think it's at the discretion of the provider.
Yeah.
I think it kind of takes into account the history and the discussions they've had up until that point. And so, if the provider sees a threat, then I would think they have to report it.
And I just want to point out one more time is that the Catholic Church is not bound to these rules and regulations. Right? You can tell a priest anything in the confession and they don't have to report it at all.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely a culture within a subculture within the Catholic priest section of Catholicism that is quite okay with sexual molestation.
Well, that's they seek those positions so that they can do those things. I mean, those are the positions that predators flock to.
Yeah,
because there's just so much opportunity there, and I think it's kind of the same with the police and politics or any position of power.
School teachers,
those who want to abuse it, and I think that they need to be prepared for that. I don't understand why that's not like have a specific task force, so to speak, for this threat. Like the police have internal affairs because they know, people are corrupt and people can be bad, but when you have power, you should have, an oversight is specifically for that type of problem.
Well, I think it's something that we definitely should be taking more serious and putting more resources into. But I think that this is one of those conversations that people don't like to have. It makes them really uncomfortable. It makes you think about your children and what could be happening. So people stay away from this, and that's really sad because this is a serious issue within our society.
Well, and the problem too is not just that, but that people don't actually know what they're talking about, and they're out
misinformation
there acting like they do, and so. And that's fine. We don't all know everything, right? We're not all knowing. But if you have information, now, okay, you said this is what's happening, and someone comes along and says, well, no, that's not true. Here's the evidence to support that it's not true. Then at that point, you should be able to go, all right, well, let me check this out. No, these people are not interested in that at all.
Yeah.
At all. They don't care. And what's infuriating is the fact that there are ways to lessen these incidences, to just make it so that less victims are harmed. There are ways to do that. There's treatment. There's stuff that has worked, and they continue to argue. Well, no, that's not going to happen, and you're condoning pedophilia. Like I had to actually do a video on how do you condone a mental illness? How do you condone a disorder? That's like condoning PTSD or condoning bipolar disorder. And people get angry. They're like, well, they're not the same thing. No, it's still a disorder. It's not something you're choosing to feel. And it's not a disorder until it becomes a problem, right? It's a paraphilia initially, and it's just a feeling and an attraction, but it's not something that they can control. But there are ways to make things better. They're not interested in that at all. And it's because it's all political for them. It's not about what's best for the kids. It's not about, they care about the kids. It's about hey, look at me and look at how mad I am. There's an element of narcissism there. It's like, as angry as I am, and I want you to see how angry I am because that makes me look like a really good person. Look at me. But then there's also the political element there. They want to get the Democrats, they want to get the left, want to stick it to us, and political
fear mongering. Political fear mongering wins elections. If you can keep your populace afraid, and you're that strong man that's going to protect them, you're going to win your election. So I mean, I think that the approach of dehumanization hasn't worked. We need to humanize this issue and really approach it from a human angle instead of, just absolutes. You're absolutely wrong for this. No, we need to look at it on nuance, approach it differently, because the problem's just getting worse and worse.
And what I want to talk about, when I talk to atheists and skeptics about it, is that, I personally don't believe in free will. I don't think it exists.
Yeah, neither do I.
That being said, when people do things that they quote unquote shouldn't do, and it's clear that murder, rape, these are horrible things, and a well-functioning society shouldn't have these things, and there's something wrong with you when people engage in those activities. Is that how do we deal with people who are there's something wrong with them? There is just something wrong with them, and there are clear ways that are better than others. In other words, focusing on punishment, like the United States of America does, that just creates better criminals and more sick people, as against to the idea of trying to rehabilitate people. Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
I think part of the deal is it's a much more complex problem, though. It's okay. If a man has sex with a 16-year-old girl, is that pedophilia?
No.
Technically, no, it's not. But but they don't all see that.
I think there's like a different word for it.
Yeah, there's a different. I don't know what there's
different terms.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure. But I mean, does somewhere in our evolutionary history, is there some kind of indicator where man should be able to tell that person is almost twice the technical breeding age?
Yeah, there's there
nothing there.
Girls that are 16 that look like they're 24.
Right.
And,
so it's hard.
And biology doesn't know
Yes.
age, right? We see a body, we see a figure, we see a woman.
Yes.
And that's what happens. So,
that's not a disorder, though.
It's no. I mean,
it can't be maladaptive if you act out on it.
There's definitely a lack of integrity. So if you're a grown ass man and you're gonna take advantage of a much younger person, you might see a woman, but the moment you find out, hey, this is still a child, then that's where your personal integrity should overcome it. I'm gonna get away right now.
But we're evolved creatures, evolved specifically to look for certain traits, and there aren't many indicators that I remember in. Of course, it's been a while since I've been in school where the male of some species suddenly goes, young females no longer attract me. I need to go over here and just die.
We don't really change
until the day we die, aren't we? I mean, so I'm saying a little bit of it's fighting a biological thing. We're fighting our own biology and calling those people who now we have that above that higher intellect that says, oh, wait, just like Rage just said a second ago. We oh, no, this is wrong. And those people need to address that and go, yeah, this is wrong based on our society. I should not be blah, 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 blah. I totally get that. I'm just saying that this is natural biology that we see in every species outside. Now we're talking because we're talking about the puritanical nature of what's an adult female. Okay. But whenever we talk about literally the ones who go after the real children, 6-year-olds and 10-year-olds or whatever, that's in my mind what is pedophilia or child molestation. And that's not normal as part of a evolutionary society. That is a mental illness.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming there. Yeah.
Okay,
I get where you're coming from there. Yeah, definitely.
Because a child can't, at that age, they can't.
Right. But whenever a woman is at breeding age, literally of breeding age, 12, 13 is breeding age, they start developing all the things you need to breed. In any other society, puppies, cats, anything else, you'd be like, all right, let's start breeding them things. But You know,
Well,
and ours is a little
yeah,
different. And I get that.
this
I'm not knocking that thing. I'm just saying we just need to recognize that.
It's the law and morality kind of, they
Yes.
kind of clash. And so there's this
And
thing
biology.
where we've decided that, a 15-year-old should not have sex with a 19-year-old. That's statutory rape because, it's bad for the 15-year-old apparently, unless they're married. Then the 15-year-old is old enough to have sex and have children and do all these,
That's
things.
a great point. That's a great analogy right there.
As long as God is visually approved.
It's just appalling because, my uncle, for example, I think he was 24 and my aunt was 15 years old and they got married, I think, when she was 16. He was 80 years old when he passed away. They had 6 children and I don't know, 30 grandchildren or something like, they had 9 kids and like 30 grandchildren. And so, it's okay, because, and this is ideologically driven. It's okay to have sex with teenagers as long as you're married to them. That's what the lawmakers have done. They've made it palatable by throwing marriage in the mix.
Because it's ingrained in their religion.
And a lot of religions have done that very same thing.
I literally had Misha Popov come on my channel and propose that young 15, 16-year-old young women should be married off to more older, well-established men in society. And it's a very male patriarchy, Christian type of deal. I found it obnoxious and atrocious, but it is a completely separate conversation than actual pedophilia.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like in a let's take various animal species, like the young males have to grow and fight their way because the older, bigger, stronger male, he's the one who gets all the nookie from all the young females. The young females of breeding age. They don't go, oh, wait. She's breeding age, but we're going to wait 2 years before or 4 years before we let that lion breed with that lion. No. In nature, they just kind of do the thing. And the same thing, though. The young males, in fact, in nature, it's often the older males who get to do it first because they are the ones who are in control and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just saying there's biology there as well.
What I'm thankful for is that I'm not a chimpanzee. I'm
thankful I'm 50 and married to a 50-year-old woman. I don't have to worry about these things. I haven't even seen cuties. It don't matter.
What chimpanzees do is that the groups of males will form killing raids and go into other territories or in between territories and kill off lone chimps from another tribe or from another group. So amongst all the things I'm thankful for, and I'm not thankful for many things for being a human being, don't get me wrong. I'm down on the species in general, but I'm just glad I'm not a chimpanzee.
Yeah. I thought a great many bonobo or chimpanzee societies were female matriarch societies, and they have a lot less violence.
Bonobos are the way to be because they're just happy, sex-driven creatures. Chimpanzees and baboons, they're just can be very violent, very hierarchical creatures. Yeah,
maybe they're closer to us than we think. That's just how it is.
Well, I think that there are teenagers at the age of 13, 14, 15. They're having sex with each other. They're having sex with people their age, and they're not harmed by it. If you have sex with an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, it's illegal, right? But they're not harmed by it. I was 16 dating a 26-year-old. I didn't have sex with him, but at some point we might have. I had sex as a teenager. I'm not harmed by it. I'm fine. I've had other issues that harmed me, but it wasn't the sex. I think the interaction.
Right.
But I just, and then there's Romeo and Juliet laws, right?
Yeah.
So, that kind of exempt people from statutory rape laws. I don't know. I don't like
and there's double standards in society. I had sex for the first time when I was 12 years old. And I don't think that I was harmed by it. It was me and my girlfriend. We snuck out and we did that. You're under pressures, at that age. But when I did it, high fives from all my friends. But when it got out, I had my girlfriend, she was a slut. She was a hoe. So there's that double standard. It was quite acceptable for me as a 12-year-old little boy to be interested in sex and to want to have sex with a girl quite the opposite for a girl at that same
Yeah.
age.
Well, we demonize sex outside of these very specific, tidy parameters of love and monogamy and marriage. And anything outside of that for women becomes, it sullies us. And
Or maybe I might have been. I think I was 13. I don't think I was 12. I think I was 13.
A lot of it is a puritanical nature left by religion.
Yeah, it's definitely religion.
Yeah. I mean, like New Jersey, the age of consent is 16, I think. Oh,
yeah,
no. So are the women in New Jersey who have sex at 16 and 17, are they suddenly damaged somehow?
Now,
is that protected that women in other states are not?
Yeah. And are they ready? Right?
Are they ready?
Like,
I think,
are they less ready the day before they turn 16?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know.
It's complicated. That's what I was saying earlier. But my entire point was that it was complicated.
I think it's definitely
pedophiles bad.
I think it's definitely healthy to promote a society where young people are not rushing into like physical relationships that they're not ready for. But I think it's the stigmatization that we really need to change, and the ability to talk to our children. That's one thing that I've tried to do with my child, as opposed to what my parents did with me. I could not talk to my parents. I feared them, and I'm really hoping my child will actually come and talk to me when she's faced with these things. And we'll see if that approach works. But I know that the approach that my parents took with me, it didn't work. You tell me not to do something, I'm gonna go do it.
Well, it's at that age. Whenever you hit that age, that's like your body is literally telling you, "This is what I'm at my most virile."
Yeah.
Right?
Your body is screaming
from the age of 13 until that's like 5 years that you're not supposed to. And yet, nature and any other creature, they already had babies. They already did the thing. Now we agreed, in society, we need to not encourage those things. I'm just saying to vilify it so much that these are completely separate things.
Yeah.
We've been dumping a lot on the emotion of fear, but Dan Savage, the sex columnist, he said that, to paraphrase him, the reason why I survived the AIDS epidemic is because of fear. I just didn't want to put my penis in places in weird, odd places, at least for Dan Savage. And and that's for me. I think fear has been, I used to think anger was my superpower, but I have just completely rearranged my thoughts right here. If I was going to have a second superpower, it would be fear. Fear.
Gotcha. Understood. Well, you know what, guys? We have done the hour. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Andy and Nokasuchi and Miss Lola Rey. Hey, Andy, do you got anything coming up you want to talk about before we head off?
Just me. Come, just I'm doing a lot of, I'm gearing up for some protests with, Extinction Rebellion, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be writing about it on my blog, blah, blah, blah. I'm really brilliant. You should check out my blog and maybe become a patron of mine, because that's how I roll. Maybe that's how you should roll too.
I roll.
Where is your blog,
Andy?
What's that?
Where is your blog?
It is on Pathos, the non-religious channel. I am a satirist, a humorist, a comedian, and it's called Laughing in Disbelief.
Okay.
There should be links below if you're curious in the description of the video. So if you want to go find him. Hey, Nokasuchi, the Rage, you got anything going on, buddy?
Yeah, I'll be live in about an hour. We're gonna finish up my last conversation with Smokey Saint. Quite the conversation, but we're also going to be looking at Smokey Saint in real life. Does Smokey Saint show his face? I'm going to be covering it. John Peterson will be there with me. Tomorrow we're going to have an open room. So tomorrow evening, if you want to, anybody is welcome. Come in, have a conversation, bring a topic.
Wonderful. Awesome. Miss Lola Rey, do you have anything going on in your world? Do you want? We should have links to everybody down there below to some videos.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's Lola Rey.
How's the Twitter thing going? Did you?
And I'm on TikTok. Yeah.
You're building Twitter?
I'm sorry?
You're building your Twitter? Because I think you had just started it. Is that right? Or you weren't really into it at first?
I'm there. I'm not building. I probably should be, but I'm not. I'm still so new to Twitter. Like I'm not addicted to it yet. So
good for you.
Yeah, my hero. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you and bye. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you to everybody in the damn nation for showing up, all the people watching on Facebook, and the people who listen on the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast. You guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow for Hump Day. Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Ian Davenport, Cindy Plaza, and tons of mice. Thank you, and have a great day.